Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Angie Stone has died in a car accident in Montgomery County.
Angie Stone was more than just a singer. She was a force, a pioneer, and a voice that refused to be silenced. From the heights of success to the struggles hidden behind the industry's glamour, her journey was filled with triumph and pain. But there was more to her story than music. Beneath the surface lay secrets, battles, and truths that many never knew.
I've been dealing with a lot the last month, a whole lot. And I'm just here to let you know I am so outdone with things that have been going on in and around me.
Join us as we talk about how, just before her death, Angie Stone broke her oath and revealed a terrifying secret. The melody that shaped Angie Stone. Before we reveal to you what Angie talked about just before her death, and why many people think she broke her oath when she revealed a terrifying secret, let's take a step back to where it all began. Who was Angie Stone before fame found her? What shaped the voice that would later capture hearts worldwide? The answer lies in the sounds and voices that surrounded her from birth. Born Angela Laverne Brown on December 18, 1961 in Columbia, South Carolina, Angie's life was set to a rhythm long before she even understood it. Her mother, Iona, worked as a hospital technician, but music flowed through her veins just as much as care and kindness did. She would hum gospel tunes as she went about her day, filling their home with a warmth that only music can bring. Her father, Bobby Williams, had a different connection to sound, one that carried the weight of history and emotion. He was a paralegal by profession, but outside of work he found his true passion in gospel and blues. Some children read bedtime stories, but Angie's lullabies came in the form of harmonies from her father's gospel quartet. Music wasn't just background noise in the Brown household, it was a language, a way of life. Could it be that fate had already decided Angie's path before she even knew how to speak? From a young age, she sang in the First Nazareth Baptist Church under Reverend Blakely N. Scott's guidance. Church was more than a place of worship for Angie. It was a stage, a classroom, and a sanctuary all at once. Here, she learned the power of a voice and how it could lift spirits and bring people to tears. She was communicating, feeling, and living through every note. Her father nurtured her love for music by taking her to see live performances by renowned gospel groups like the Singing Angels and the Gospel Keynotes. Imagine being a young girl standing in a dimly lit church or concert hall, hearing voices so powerful they seemed to shake the walls. It must have been magical. Did she know then that one day her own voice would have that kind of impact? Angie was the only child in her family, which deepened her connection to her parents. She spent hours listening to her father practice, absorbing the soul of gospel and the raw emotion of blues. When he performed in local clubs, she would watch in admiration, studying every movement, every note. By the time she was a teenager, her love for music had taken full form. She wasn't just a listener, she was a creator. She scribbled lyrics in notebooks, experimenting with melodies, her voice becoming stronger, richer, filled with stories she was yet to tell the world. Looking back, it's clear that music was never just a career for Angie Stone. It was in her blood, in her home, in her soul, an early career. Now that you know all this, it won't surprise you to know that Angie was already 16 when she was standing on the edge of something extraordinary. It was the late 1970s, and hip-hop was still in its infancy, a raw and electric new genre that pulsed through the streets with an energy no one could ignore. Angie, along with Cheryl the Pearl Cook and Gwendolyn Blondie Chisholm, stepped into that energy with confidence, forming The Sequence, the second rap group ever signed to Sugar Hill Records. Most teenage girls were still figuring out their dreams, but Angie already had a hit song on the charts. In 1980, the Sequence released Funk You Up, a track that climbed to number 15 on the US Top Black Singles chart. Their sound was fresh, playful and bold, proving that female voices had a place in hip-hop. The group toured, recorded, and soaked in every moment of the ride. But as the years went by, the music industry changed. Hip-hop shifted from party anthems to grittier, street-driven storytelling. The Sequence, pioneers in their own right, found themselves fading from the spotlight. By 1985, the trio disbanded, and just like that, one chapter of Angie's life closed. But Angie wasn't someone who would let an industry define her. She wouldn't disappear, and she wouldn't change who she was to fit the mold. If hip-hop was moving in one direction, she would move in another. The 1980s brought new opportunities, collaborations with hip-hop and electro-funk group Mantronix, and a lead vocalist role in the R&B trio Vertical Hold. In 1993, the group released Seems You're Much Too Busy, a song that gave Angie another taste of success. With 2 albums under their belt, A Matter of Time and Head First, they carved a space in the world of R&B. Even as trends came and went, one thing about Angie remained the same: her authenticity. She refused to become a puppet for the industry, and maybe that's what made her journey so unique. She joined forces with Jerry DeVoe and Charlie Mole to form Divas, an experimental project that allowed her to stretch her creative muscles in a new way. Around this time, she also became deeply involved in songwriting, leaving her mark on D'Angelo's groundbreaking albums Brown Sugar and Voodoo. Angie's voice wasn't just powerful. Even when she wasn't the one singing, she was shaping the sound of the artists around her. In 1998, she lent her vocals to Lenny Kravitz's album 5, proving once again that she could move between genres effortlessly. By the late 1990s, Clive Davis, one of the most influential figures in the music industry, took notice of her undeniable talent. He knew what the world was missing: Angie Stone's voice, front and center. In 1999, her debut solo album, Black Diamond, was released. Named after her daughter, the album became a reflection of her journey, soulful, rich, and deeply personal. The critics praised it, the fans embraced it, and Angie was finally where she was meant to be. If anyone thought Black Diamond was a one-time success, they were wrong. Angie followed up with Mahogany Soul in 2001, a record that brought together some of the biggest names in R&B. She worked with Alicia Keys, Raphael Saadiq, and Swizz Beatz. The album's second single, Wish I Didn't Miss You, became an international hit, dominating charts in Australia and Belgium. But the industry was shifting once again. Labels were looking for ways to cut costs, and instead of allowing Angie to work on a new album, J Records asked her to release Stone hits, the very best of Angie Stone, in 2005. It was a clear sign that they weren't investing in her future the way they once had. And just like that, Angie made a decision. She walked away. After 5 years with J Records, she asked for an unconditional release, and she got it. Most artists would have compromised. Most would have bent under the pressure of an industry that tells you what to be, but not Angie Stone. She knew who she was, and she would never let Hollywood, record labels, or anyone else change that. Angie Stone's late career. From 2006, Angie Stone's career continued to evolve, but one thing never changed: she remained true to herself. As the music industry shifted, becoming more digital, more commercialized, and more trend-driven, Angie refused to be molded into something she wasn't. She knew her voice, her artistry, and her purpose. No matter how much the world around her modernized, she stayed connected to the roots of soul, R&B, and gospel. That same year, she stepped into the world of reality television, appearing on Celebrity Fit Club. Though the experience was different from anything she had done before, she approached it with the same resilience she brought to her music. Around this time, she signed with the newly revived Stax Records, a label known for its rich history in soul music. It felt like the perfect place for her. In 2007, The Art of Love and War was released, a deeply personal album that reflected her struggles and triumphs. It became her highest charting album, proving that real soul music still had a place in a world dominated by changing sounds. The lead single, Baby, featuring the legendary Betty Wright, soared to the top of the adult R&B songs chart, earning Angie another Grammy nomination. Despite this success, the next few years were difficult. In 2009, while working on Unexpected, she suffered a devastating loss. Her father passed away unexpectedly. The pain seeped into the album, making it one of her most emotional works. It was a slight departure from her signature sound, incorporating funk and upbeat elements, perhaps an attempt to push through the grief. But the album struggled commercially, failing to make the impact she had hoped for. Still, she kept moving forward. Angie continued to explore new avenues, appearing in films and stage plays. She starred in Pastor Brown's School Gyrls and the hit play Loving Him Is Killing Me, alongside Nin Leakes. In 2013, she joined R&B Divas, not as someone chasing the spotlight, but as a mentor and guide, offering wisdom from decades in the industry. In 2015, she returned with Dream, an album filled with strength and honesty. Critics praised it as another powerful addition to her discography. Even as mainstream music leaned toward fleeting trends, Angie kept making music with meaning. She followed it with Covered in Soul, a collection of soulful renditions of classic songs, proving that she could take any song and make it her own. Her 9th studio album, Full Circle, arrived in 2019, led by the single Dinosaur. It was clear that no matter how much the industry changed, Angie Stone was never going to fade away. In June 2024, she received one of the greatest honors of her career, an induction into the Women's Songwriters Hall of Fame. It was a moment of recognition for a lifetime of dedication to music. She had spent decades crafting songs that spoke to the soul, influencing generations of artists. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Fans were excited for what 2025 would bring. After all, Angie had never stopped. She was still recording, still performing, still proving that authenticity would always have a place in music. But just when it seemed like this would be her year, when it looked like she had no plans of slowing down, something terrible happened. Angie's death. Angie Stone died. It was a moment too shocking, too sudden, too cruel to believe. One minute, she was performing, filling a room with her voice, her laughter, her warmth. The next, she was gone, taken in a way that no one could have ever imagined. March 1st, 2025, started like any other day for her family. There was no warning, no sign of the tragedy that was about to unfold miles away in Alabama. Angie had just finished performing at the Mobile Area Mardi Gras Association's Grand Marshals Ball. It had been a magical night. The crowd adored her. Her band played flawlessly, and Angie, always the professional, left the stage satisfied, her voice still lingering in the air long after the final note. She and her team were headed to Atlanta next, another city eagerly awaiting her presence. Traveling in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, they were a tight-knit group, bandmates, dancers, friends. Perhaps they talked about the show, laughed about something small, or planned their next performance. Maybe Angie hummed softly to herself, the melodies of the night still fresh in her mind. Then, everything changed. At around 4:25 a.m., the darkness of Interstate 65 stretched ahead, the roads quiet except for the occasional headlights cutting through the night. The van was moving at a steady pace when, suddenly, something went terribly wrong. Near mile marker 162, south of Montgomery, the van lost control. Was it driver fatigue? A sudden obstacle? A mechanical failure? No one knew, but the result was horrifying. The tires screeched, the vehicle swerved, and in seconds it rolled over, crashing onto its side. Inside, panic and chaos erupted, shattered glass, dazed confusion, the weight of reality setting in as passengers struggled to understand what had just happened. The overturned van lay helpless in the road, its occupants trapped inside, stunned and injured. But the nightmare wasn't over. A massive white Freightliner Cascadia, an 18-wheeler barreling down the highway, was heading straight toward them. The driver, whether unable to see the van in time or unable to stop, collided with it in a devastating impact. By the time emergency responders arrived, the scene was a wreckage of twisted steel, shattered glass, and scattered belongings. Sirens screamed into the night as flashing lights illuminated the devastating aftermath. Witnesses later described the horror, how the van was nearly unrecognizable, how the impact had left behind a sight too terrible to forget. Angie Stone didn't make it. She never got the chance to say one last word, to hold the hand of a loved one, to give one final smile to her fans. She was gone, just like that.
R&B singer Angie Stone has died in a car crash. We're told she had just finished a concert in Mobile, Alabama Friday.
A life so full, a voice so powerful, silenced in an instant. She was 63. Her bandmates and dancers, though injured, survived. They were rushed to hospitals, and doctors worked to stabilize them. The truck driver walked away physically unharmed, though surely burdened by the tragedy he had unwillingly become a part of. As the sun rose, the news spread. At first, disbelief. Could it be true? Angie Stone, the woman whose voice had moved millions, who had stood the test of time in an industry that often forgets its own, was gone. Videos and photos flooded social media. Images of the wreckage, of flashing emergency lights against the early morning sky, of a reality too painful to accept. Fans mourned, stunned into silence. She had so many plans. There was more music to be made, more stages to grace, more memories to create. But Angie Stone left behind more than just music. Dark side of the music industry. Just before her death, Angie Stone broke her oath and revealed a terrifying secret. A secret that concerned Hollywood and foreign countries that we don't know. Angie said in an interview, "I'm risking everything to reveal this." And when she said that, her voice, steady but heavy with emotion, carried the weight of decades of silence. She had spent her career watching, learning, and enduring. And now, at the end of her journey, she was ready to speak. For years, the music industry had hidden its ugliest truths behind platinum records and flashing lights. It thrived on illusions, carefully shaping the images of its stars, deciding who was worthy of the spotlight and who would remain in the shadows. Angie Stone knew this all too well. She wasn't just a singer, she was a pioneer, a force of nature. But in an industry that valued marketability over raw talent, she was never meant to be a star in their eyes. "They wanted my voice, not my face," she said. It started in the early days when she was with Vertical Hold. The song, Seems You're Much Too Busy, was a success, but the music video told a different story. Instead of featuring Angie front and center, the directors kept her in the shadows. Dim lighting, distant camera angles, anything to keep her image from fully emerging. "They hid me," she admitted. "They didn't think a woman like me could sell records." At first, she thought it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was just a creative direction, an artistic choice, but it kept happening. She watched as executives praised her voice, but hesitated when it came to promoting her. She saw lighter, thinner artists being pushed forward while she was told to wait, to adjust, to make herself more appealing. But how do you change who you are? Angie had always been confident, comfortable in her skin, but the industry didn't care. She wasn't the standard they had set, and so they tried to erase her. "They stole from me," she once said, and they did. The same industry that kept her hidden had no problem taking her style, her sound, her influence. She saw younger, slimmer women being marketed with the same neo-soul vibe she had pioneered. She heard echoes of her voice in artists who didn't have to fight for visibility the way she did. Her struggles weren't just about image. Her weight gain wasn't simply a matter of lifestyle. It was the result of medication she was taking for health reasons. Yet, instead of understanding, she was met with whispers, criticism, and rejection. "They don't want to hear about that," she once said, shaking her head. "They just want you to fit into their mold." Even as she gained success, even as her albums went gold and her songs topped charts, she was still fighting a battle that had nothing to do with her talent. The industry had no place for a woman like her, but the people did. The fans heard her, felt her, and loved her. No amount of industry rejection could take away the fact that Angie Stone's voice mattered. Near the end of her life, she had made a decision. She was going to tell the whole truth and more, even darker secrets. She was tired of being quiet, tired of letting others control the narrative. She had already spoken about the ways she had been hidden, stolen from, pushed aside. But there was more. "You don't even know the half of it," she had said, and she had planned to tell it all. She had announced that she was going to reveal more secrets, deeper ones, things people in power never wanted to be spoken, but she never got the chance. Before she could say everything, she passed away. If she had lived longer, what kind of secrets do you think she would have exposed about the music industry?
I don't care who's watching me.
Non-stop 6:30.